Queens. We are here with a new episode, so make sure you grab your wine, your blunts, or your vape, and whatever makes you relax, because we're about to have some queen chats. Today, we are talking about masturbation, because it's such a taboo, and it's International Masturbation Month. So, ladies, introduce yourselves.
Hey, guys. I am Kiki Boom Boom.
Hey, guys. It's your girl, Miss Katie Marie.
Hey, pasa, it's TK Trinidad.
And I don't know if I already said it, but I'm Monique Loveless. If I did, well, I said it again. But let me tell y'all, it's International Masturbation Month. And I thought this was a great topic. I know it's such a taboo and a lot of us feel uncomfortable talking about it. But I will say this. I found out some great information. So I found out that Jocelyn, it's Jocelyn Elder, or is it Felder? Y'all, it's one of the two. And before this, I'm going to know. Jocelyn is a black general surgeon, was a black general surgeon for like the White House during Bill Clinton's time. She was a black woman, and she suggested that they should add masturbation into the sexual curriculum in schools. And Bill Clinton, y'all, fired her.
The nerve.
So I thought this was a great topic to talk about. Clearly, us black women are talking about it. We feel like it should be talked about, and I know it's such a taboo, but I think that it's a great topic. How y'all feeling about Masturbation Month?
I think there's no month for masturbation. I think masturbation is every day, or to each its own.
That was pure poetry, Kiki.
You like poetry? Bars.
Poetry. Bars.
Do y'all feel comfortable talking about it? Why or why not?
Well, personally, okay. You know,
go ahead.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was just going to simply say that for me, I haven't really gotten into masturbating. I prefer the real thing. I do think that it is healthy, and I think that women should learn how to do it. I've tried to learn, but I realize that it's just not my thing. I would just prefer a dick.
I retweet that. I second that. I did grow up in a very progressive household. Like, I was raised by two feminist women. So at a very young age, I was taught about loving myself and learning how to look at my vagina and knowing parts of myself. And I had books at a young age about like masturbation. Like, I was taught at a very young age. And I kind of started at a young age of pleasing myself and stuff like that. So I'm not uncomfortable talking about it. Maybe when I was younger, I was a little uncomfortable, but I'm not uncomfortable talking about it. But like Candy says, sometimes, you know, if it's a little too much, I just would prefer the real thing. So, but I am team masturbation. I think whatever helps you. And I think it's important, especially for women, to know what we like, so that way we can tell our partner, whether it's a man or a woman, what we want, because sometimes they may not know what you want. And I think it's great to please yourself and you know how you like it.
I agree.
Yeah, as far as conversation-wise, it's just like, you know, whatever works for you. My household wasn't as progressive. Like, if you guys listen to the last episode, you guys are talking about like, sexual experiences. In high school, like, my take on sex was like if you read the first few pages of Color Purple, they're talking about sex. And that was my take on sex. Like, I legitimately thought people had sex, like, with their clothing on for a long time. So my take on it was very, you know, slow coming. I was a super late bloomer. But thanks to a person that I will just say is the professor, he taught me a lot. And even with that, it's just kind of like you learn to appreciate oneself. But I'm kind of with you, Candy, where it's just like I like, it's almost like riding a bike. Like, I know what to do. I don't really care for it. And maybe because of, you know, situationships or friends with benefits, that I don't really, you know, have the need to do that because I have good friends. So it's not a thing for me, but I do know how to do it. I think you should know how to do it, just like you should know how to like give proper head. It's kind of all and cook. All Nars know.
Well, I guess I'm the different one out of the group.
The freak.
because I feel like I know how to please myself better than anybody else.
Same.
And so I don't, I feel like certain settings, because I am such a blunt person, I try to maybe like hold back on talking about it with certain individuals, because my mom is, believe it or not, she's a little more conservative. So I grew up in a little more conservative household. But my grandma, she was all about it. She used to walk in the room and be like, "Are you playing with yourself?" And I'm like,
yeah, my grandma was right.
This is Granny?
yes. She'd be like, "Are you playing with yourself?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, so I, my grandma was very like, she was like, put it on the table.
I think because like back then too, like because my great grandmother who raised me was also very open, and she talked to me about everything sex wise.
Yeah.
I just think back then for women, like past the 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, like I think the 20s and 30s and 40s, women were a little bit more progressive. I think because if you look back at the time of the 20s where they had like a lot of brothels and liquor was getting involved and sex toys were coming about in the 20s, like I just think that women were a little bit more liberal. And then I think as time went on in the United States, became a little bit more prude when it came to sex.
Right. And
so
then
that's why
that makes sense. Right. That makes sense. And then on top of that, like, I was a lover of Cosmopolitan, and Cosmopolitan would teach you of like sex and stuff. So it had like this, I remember this article it had where it was about like having an orgasm and, how to like have an orgasm. So I'm like, how do you teach yourself to have an orgasm if you're not having sex? So I feel like I explored it early. It's something that I don't mind. I prefer it because at least I know I'm not getting pregnant or giving myself STDs. So
okay,
I don't know. I talk about it. I'm okay with talking about it. I'm okay with sharing it. I'm okay with being like, this is the conversation for right now, and this is what I do. What is it called? You flick the bean, flick the bean.
You know what's interesting is that I've had times where I've kind of fell into pleasuring myself. I didn't plan it. I was, I just gotten out of the shower and oiled myself up, and I was laying in the bed. The sheets were feeling nice, and then I just so happened to graze my thigh, and I'm like, oh.
You're like, oh, she nice.
I mean, because again, I think that's also a form of self-love, like just doing the little things, taking care of your skin and taking care of your body and putting sheets down on your bed that feel good. So when you lay on them and making sure your bed feels the way you want it to feel, so that those moments are created, and that they're not always necessarily planned. They just kind of happen, just like with sex.
I agree.
Well, I'm a true Scorpio to heart. I'm always horny. So if they're the man or not.
Listen, I being in my 30s, I mean, I was always naturally a sexual person at a young age. Even when I wasn't having sex, I was just always horny, and I never even had sex before. That was just a very sexual. I was that kid that was like humping the wall. So
the tree, the wall,
the tree, and I wasn't even having sex. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have sex, but I'll like do this. So, but I do think in your 30s, your sex. I remember my aunt in my late 20s. My aunt who passed away used to tell me, she's like, girl, wait till you get to your 30s because your sex drive is different. And I will say, the sex drive in your 30s is like extra.
What's your
extra?
Yo.
Huh?
What's it been since you turned 30?
So here's the thing, like I feel like I've always just been horny, like first name always, last name horny. But when I got into my late 20s, for me, like 28, 29, it kind of like went down a little bit. And I was like, ugh. And that's when my aunt had that conversation with me. But when I got into my 30s, now I'm 34, and I think it's because I'm more comfortable. I'm just like, I'm like a damn man. I'm just extra horny all the goddamn time. And I just learned that women, our sex drive in our 30s just goes all the way up because by the time we reach 50, that's when menopause happens. So I'm like, damn, I'm ready to go.
I'm like you, Kiki. Like,
sorry, Mom.
I've always been horny, like since I was like 5. I don't know why, but I've always been horny. As much as I've known, I've always been a horny little whatever. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I'm horny, like if I'm super horny and it's just a moment and there's no dick around, I'll go to the bathroom or maybe just in the car, you know, bust out a little finger vibrator and, you know, get it in. But do I like?
You gotta please yourself.
I know,
right there.
I self-love, self-care. I sure will. Like,
It's important.
It might
I
even
love it.
feel
I love it.
adrenaline. So
I love it.
But
I think some women just don't know how to do it.
Yes, I agree.
Because initially, I think that was my issue. For so long, I felt weird doing it. I felt weird touching myself. It was like, oh, this is weird as fuck. Like, why are you doing this? Are you that, like, fucking, like, worthless that you can't go find a man? But then you have to get out of that mindset and just say, you know what? Fuck it. It's just loving me. That's it, period.
Yeah.
Right. That's very true. Because, like we talked about, Kiki, we just talked about Sex and the City. And remember that episode where Charlotte was like, I've never even seen my See You Next Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just, I guess there are women out there, like, queens, look at yourselves in the mirror. Get to know your princess down there. Get to know your Nubian queen down there. And pleasure yourself. Learn how to orgasm. Learn, it's important.
Especially during this quarantine. You got all the time in the world now.
Yes,
all the time.
Good, because you come and you don't have to worry about having no baby or being pregnant or any nasty, like, no nigga feelings, emotions, all that stuff that people, you know, may believe energy and stuff.
Yeah. And Pornhub is offering a discount. I think we discussed this in a previous episode that, you know, Pornhub was offering a discount during this time. Hey, Pornhub's not for everybody, but, you know, it's not that bad. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's definitely been my thing. TK, was you going to say something? Because I feel like I accidentally cut you off.
You did. Thank you. I was going to say that it's one of those things where you have to, well, you don't have to, but I feel like it's definitely way more enjoyable once it's no longer an action, like a thing to do, and it's more of the emotion attached, not necessarily like the emotional with that person. It's even with yourself, where it's like, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to do this just because it's there. And I think that's a difference from your younger self to as you get older and you have those experiences with individuals and or yourself where it's more of the enjoyment of it versus the doing of it. And that's where I think the big difference comes in. Because, you know, my younger self, my very first boyfriend, we were doing it all the time because we were both athletes. But when I look back, it was just the action of it. And, you know, when I really learned the all the things and all the accoutrement that comes with it, it was a very different experience. So it's not necessarily, that's what I crave more than just the action.
Do y'all feel like, have y'all, let me ask this, have y'all ever like had toys or masturbated with your significant other or your fuck buddy or whatever?
That's fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
How do y'all feel about that? Like, tell me y'all's experience. Y'all felt about it. Like, how did it go down? How was it like?
For me, it's not for everybody. It's not for every partner. It's usually something that I wait for the guy to bring up if they want to see that, because I never know, like, I never want to scare anybody. But I have done that before where a guy has requested to see me please myself in front of him, and then we had sex. And I think that's, for me, at first I was uncomfortable. I was like, what? Why? Mm-hmm. But then as I got into it and as time went on, I was like, this is literally one of the sexiest things I've ever seen or heard of. So I think for me, it's the guy that has to ask me. And, you know, it's fun.
Yeah, and I would agree with Kiki completely. When I did it, it was phone sex. You know, we were on FaceTime, and I was in a long distance situation, and initially it was a little uncomfortable, but then it became kind of like me expressing myself just sexually, and just because I think that's important as a woman, that we understand how sexy that we are and that we feel sexy. So it became this thing where it was just like, you know, I was like competing to be sexier and sexier every single time that it happened. And it was very freeing, especially going from being the girl that was this really, really good girl that didn't have sex to now this girl that's learning how to express herself and feel comfortable with herself. And I really enjoyed it. Were there some moments where it was a little awkward? Yeah, it can be awkward. But I think, again, it's about that relationship that you build with that person and how you both make each other feel comfortable. So the more comfortable we got together, the more comfortable that I felt, because he didn't make me feel uncomfortable and I didn't feel awkward doing it. So.
Yes.
So that's something that you do with a friend with benefits versus F-boy. Just, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, refer to the previous episode.
Well, every time that I did that, because that to me is a form of intimacy. Like, you can't just be on FaceTime with just any fucking body. Like, that was with somebody that I was in love with. So that's why that level of comfortability was there, because we established that. So I agree with you 100%, TK.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I do think though, like, depending on your relationship with your fuck buddy and how intimate y'all want to be, I don't think there's anything wrong with going there with that person if it's like a sexual thing. You guys are trying to meet this sexual intimacy. Like, I know for me, I would prefer with someone who I'm actually kicking it with in a relationship with, but I don't think there's anything wrong with just dealing with your fuck buddy as well, because y'all might discover something about yourselves and it might actually turn into something totally different. So I think it's, you know, it's great to have room to be open as well.
Right. I totally agree with that. I'm with you, Kiki. I feel like it was kind of like a taboo for me. Like, I would do it in my own space. But one of my exes was like, hey, I think it would be a cool idea. Like, let's try it, and let's try a few toys as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, because he's like, I want to watch you please yourself. So it was cool. I feel like in a relationship, I think I would feel a little more, I'm lying, shit. I would probably be like, wild out. Like, I would say that when I first kind of did it in front of somebody, it was him.
Yeah.
But now, would I probably maybe like if I had a drunk moment, or, you know, I had a moment, maybe would it happen? It could happen, but
I think it depends on how good you make me feel and how comfortable you make me feel.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's your space. That's like your intimate space.
Yes, baby. I don't even want you to know I have a damn toy. That's why I'm like,
yes, baby. I love it.
That's why, like, it has to be the guy to mention it, because I don't want you to know I have that. Not because I'm ashamed. It's just not your business. This is just me time. This is my personal space. So I let men bring all that up, and then I'm like, oh, like, I act shocked, like, okay, and open my drawer, like, actually.
Right, because I do feel like it's like your personal kind of like intimacy with yourself. Now, there was one point, and I won't get too vulgar, but there was one point that I will say that I was doing a lot of masturbation for a reason. I wanted to learn how to do a certain thing. So
I know what you're saying.
Yes. I don't want
to. Are you on the same page with them, TK?
I know exactly what she's talking.
I'm completely over my head. I'm like, where are we at? What's going on?
I know what Monique's saying.
I wanted to learn how to do a certain thing.
What is this thing?
You can reach this thing when you can reach an orgasm, or, you know, not a lot of people can make you do this thing.
Am I the only clueless person on the Zoom?
No, you're probably not. Are you talking about squirting?
Yes.
I knew that's what you were saying.
Oh. Okay, that's actually
sorry.
Talk about that. This is a
Thank
great
you. I didn't want to say it.
I knew where Monique was coming from, because I feel like Monique and I are the same person, and I am a Sagittarius, but my Venus is in Scorpio, so I get where she's coming from.
Monique. Mm.
Yeah, so like in those times, like you also, I feel like I was also exploring it with a significant other as well, but you know, do I feel like uncomfortable now that I've gotten past that point with one significant other? No, I don't as much as I did before. Yeah. So okay, so first of all, my phone went away, so I'm about to ask this question. I don't think this is the greatest question, because we already know the answer, but Masturbation versus casual sex. Do you prefer it? I mean, of course I prefer sex more, but do you prefer it?
I prefer a human being on top of me. I prefer a man laying on top of me, sweating, just lay on me.
His weight.
Just put it all on me.
Need to be able to grab some back muscles or...
You know, I prefer that. But is it happening? No. So I will take masturbation. But let me tell you though, but I've had both. Shit. Like I've had where I've been in relationships or even casual sex, so I was still pleasing myself because that was just my thing and what I wanted to do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if I had to pick one, it would definitely be casual sex.
Let me ask this since me and Kiki are like vibing right now. Do you, and this is for everybody though, do you still masturbate even if you're in a relationship?
Yes, I have done that before.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. There's nothing to do with him. It's just sometimes he might not be on the time that I'm on. Or sometimes if I'm like, I want to get to it again and again, I might have to. Or sometimes you're just not at my house and I don't feel like I have to wait for you.
Yeah.
So I can just get my Bob, my battery operated boyfriend, until you're here.
Your Bob, I love it. I love Bob.
Okay, Bob, battery operated boyfriend.
But then
battery operated boyfriend. I love that, Bob.
That's amazing.
I'm gonna get Bob.
Do that. It's like almost the equivalent of him doing that. Like it takes the gravitas of it off. Like say you haven't seen each other in a week and you both are looking forward to seeing each other, then I feel like that takes that extra level, that extra layer.
Not for me.
No, not for me.
Because I feel like don't get me wrong, I love that women and men use toys. I think that's great, but there's just something that men can just do for me that a toy cannot do. Don't get me wrong, I've had a great time with my Bob. Me and Bob have a great understanding. He gets me, he doesn't talk back. But there's just some intimacy that a real man can there's something that even if I use Bob the day before my man comes over, there's just things that my man can reach that Bob can't. It's just something different with a human being, I think.
I've used Bob on the way too, and it still
I've done that too, shit.
It still doesn't affect. It still hasn't affected what I'm getting from whoever.
Listen, Monique and I clearly have problems.
Why? That's like
I have.
Like knowing you're gonna have dinner, but then have dinner before you have dinner. Like I don't.
Why not? You want to taste it all. I want it all.
It's just an appetizer, sis. It's just a little appetizer.
It's all right to get a little like, look at this little appetizer. Then you get the whole meal.
TK, this is not TK thing. She's like, I want emotion connected to every sexual experience.
No.
That's what she wants. That's what she wants.
Right? I feel like to me, at this point, I know how to do it and I know exactly what makes me tick. Then if in a relationship we're both there and I feel like I'm doing it more often, then there's something that is happening either between the two of us that I feel like he can't fill, or there's emotional disconnect, or something is not all the way there opposed to when it's there. Because like when it's good, then I just don't have a desire to do the other anyway. But when I do have the desire, then there's like, okay, something's either wrong with the relationship or there's something going on that I need to take note of. So that's my indication. I don't really like. I feel like that person. I would rather wait for that like a roller coaster ride opposed to like, you know, having the ice cream before the ice cream. But I guess that's just me. Josh,
it's you, and there's a lot of women like that though. Like you're not the only one who feels that way. And just like Monique's not the only one, Candy's not the only one, I'm not the only one. You're definitely not the only one who's like, I need this, that, and that. You know? And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kiki.
Wrong with that.
I'll say this, in relation to your point, TK, I think sometimes for me, and I think I've heard a lot of guys say this too, where if they haven't been with a woman in a while and they do want that moment to be like super like explosive, that they won't masturbate, you know. And the same thing for me, like I think there was a time where like I hadn't had sex in a minute, and I was really looking forward to having sex with this one person, and then we had sex, and when I tell you he was the mattress, hello, like, honey, he wasn't bringing me out, but it made it so much more intense because of the buildup. Yeah. So to your point, it makes sense.
Well, thank you, Candy. I appreciate that.
I want it all.
Right. I will say, I mean, I totally agree. Not everybody can be like that. Not everybody is going to be like me or Kiki. You know, everybody is different. But am I one who will still get immense amount of pleasure out of masturbating before I go have a demon time date? Like,
demon time? What?
We be on a demon time.
I love these names, y'all. Bob, demon time.
Like, I'm still going to have the same, like, that I knew anyway. Same. And sometimes it's even better that I did it before, because if this is a person that I'm just first sleeping with, they are like nervous or they don't perform well, then I mean, usually I have to go and do it anyway afterwards.
Like I can do it by myself.
Depends. So, okay, so what are some of y'all's favorite sex toys?
I don't use sex toys.
For me, it's kind of like alcohol. Like, I don't have a favorite drink. People just hand me drinks. And that's kind of the same with that. Like, I was gifted one, and then I lost it, and the same person re-gifted, like, gave me another one. But I don't have like that drawer of them. And I think I threw that last one out. So I don't have a favorite sex toy, but I know like toys that I've always been interested in. So as a kid, I'm obsessed with Sex and the City. We talked about this, and I used to call myself the Black Carrie Bradshaw. So I remember hearing about the rabbit at like 12 years old on Sex and the City. And I was like, what the hell is a rabbit? And I remember looking it up, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what it is. And I remember even the episode where Samantha's returning her back massager, but she's using it for a vibrator, which is funny now because when you look at vibrators, they sell them that look like the back massagers. I will say something that was one of my favorites when I was younger. I had purchased this like travel vibrator, but it looked like lipstick. So you can put it in your bag and you can fly with it because it literally looks like lipstick, but it was a mini vibrator. That was my favorite because you can do whatever you want and no one knew what it was.
Kiki, do you have a drawer right now?
I don't have like a drawer for sex toys, but my Bob lives in my drawer. That makes sense.
Okay, so you have one.
I have one drawer. Like my Bob is hidden under like my clothes because I don't have one Bob. I'll say that, but I don't have like a sex drawer. When I was in college, though, I did have like a drawer where it was like condoms and all that stuff and sex books and all that. Now shit just be with my damn clothes.
Right.
Yeah. But you know, I think it's important. I think people should masturbate. I think you should get to know yourself. You should love yourself. You should try to please yourself. That's if you're comfortable, because I know everyone's not comfortable with masturbating with toys with their hands. And but I do think if you're interested, definitely go to a sex toy store. They have stuff for beginners. They have stuff for men, women. They have anything you can think. Something I came across that I never thought I would ever see. We were in a sex toy store. There's this sex toy that costs, I think, $1,000. And it literally looks like a pillow. And there's like, I think it was like a tongue that you control with a knob, and your partner can control it. And you literally sit on this pillow while your partner controls it, and the tongue just does this. I was like, oh my God. And the guy told me that a lot of couples buy that toy.
Yeah, I can believe that.
It's so funny you say that because I've seen something that was for men where basically women could get something sculpt like inside of their vagina, a pocket pussy, basically, right? And the woman, she controls it like a handle. So when he puts his, manhood inside of it, she's like stroking it. And I was like, okay. So I think 2 Chainz did an interview. It was a video with 2 Chainz, and I saw it and I was like, I need that for me and my man when I get one.
Okay.
Like, especially if it's long distance.
Right, because that's good for like when you're giving head. That's what it's like really, for.
Or like the way your hand, like it's just
great.
sounds dope. Yeah, it sounds really.
I love that stuff, especially for couples. I love that they try to get people involved because they have like the panty vibrators that your partner can control with your iPhone. I like getting partners involved as well because it makes, if you're in a relationship, kind of makes something that's taboo. It can open that door and both of you guys can explore it together.
Right. So TK, since you are a relationship person, do you use sex toys in your like situationships or relationships or whatever?
It depends on the person. I let that person introduce.
Oh, her sound is off.
So, wait, my sound is off?
I can hear.
Oh. It depends on the person. I let them introduce it. So, like, for instance, I had a long-time relationship with a writer, and he introduced a lot of different things. So I was open to that. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm not open to that, but it's kind of like I said, it's like my alcohol. Like, if I can go without alcohol, but then if I go to the club and somebody buys me a drink, I'll take the drink. So it's kind of one of those situations. So I've experienced different ones, but would I go and to a shop and say I need to get this and this and that? Highly unlikely. 1, because I'm cheap, and then 2, it just I rather, that's probably why I get in trouble in the first place. I rather just go on the drought with the intention of finding either another situation or a friend or whatever versus that other thing.
Right.
I do want to say, because I love history. History is my favorite subject. One place that I visited a long time ago was the Museum of Sex in New York City. Mm-hmm. If anyone's ever been there, when everything opens, please visit this place because they give you the history of sex.
Yes.
Something that I learned about, like, the first sex toys, they came out in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And I just want to read something really quick. This one was called Dr. Mercurius Palscoon Blood Circulator. This came out in 1880, and it said, according to the Antique Vibrator Museum, this device had a strong vibration and a sound like a ratchet, and it helped you get in the mood. And a lot of the old sex toys look very dangerous, but
hopefully they work.
If you guys ever get a chance, please go to the Museum of Sex. It's all about history. It teaches you about the first birth control pills, first vibrators, first sex toys, first porno. I was telling Josh, our producer, they had a thing with all different pornos, and the first porno was a black and white, and it was in silent, and I got to see that, and that blew my mind. So, visit the Museum of Sex.
And at the end, they have a bouncy house with titties.
Yes, and they sell sex
can
toys.
You send us that link?
I will send you that link, and then for those listening, I will put this all on our social media page. But I'll send you that link, Candy. It is one of the greatest museums ever.
First porno?
It is.
First, they had a thing of, they had a timeline of porno. And it went from literally the first black and white, and they had the first cartoon porn that people used to sneak and watch. They had gay porn, the first 70s porn, celebrity porn. It was like the dopest timeline I've ever seen.
It's
so I will send you the link to the museum.
Yeah, you go up levels, and it's on one level, and you walk around and just watch the videos, and it shows.
And they have the first vibrators, and they look like weapons, and women were using these things in the early 1900s.
Right.
TK, what's up? We getting this link afterwards? You gonna get it? You gonna watch it?
TK, understand. Let me tell you, for all of our queens out there, for all of our queens out there who really are with TK, it is important to masturbate. Get to know.
I never said correction.
It's important.
I never said it wasn't. I just said, like I said before, I have experimented with it. I know what I like now, and I'm not really, for it. There was a point where it's like, oh, this is great. Let me figure out the do's and don'ts and all the stuff. Thank shout out again to the professor. But I've come to a point where it's just like, so the backstory is with my personality is that I'm the type of person, if I like something, I'll continue doing it until I'm sick of it. So there's a point where I did it because it's like, okay, this is now I know how it works. Now I know what I'm looking for. And I figured out what I like and, what I'm looking for. And now it's like, I could do.
There's a lot of women like TK though. Like I have friends. My friend group is very different. I have friends who love it. They love toys. They love pleasure in themselves. And I have friends who are just not here for it. They're like, it is what it is. I'd rather not touch myself. I'd rather just do the real thing, or I just rather not. So I think it really just depends on you. Like there's so many different women and men out there. Some people just don't like it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I do feel like
I'm not saying not do it. I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just saying I've come to a point in my life where it's just not really needed. And I guess too, it has to do with not having extensive droughts. Like I don't have extensive droughts.
She got dick, look, ready. Unlike the rest of us, she's saying. And like the rest of y'all, I get dick every day.
I'm not confirming or denying any of that. I'm just
She's
saying,
probably right though.
At the end of the day, that's not. And then on top of that too, like some of you guys know, or the people who like know me. There's like a lot of ish that's going on in my life in like, the last 6 months. So it's just kind of like, I find that I would look towards that when I'm more on the Zen side of life. Like things are not necessarily going well, but they're going in the right direction. When things are not necessarily going in the right direction, then I prefer I way prefer more of the human contact, just to see that somebody's on your side versus that side of it. So I'm not saying that it's bad. I think every woman should do it so they at least know themselves and they know what they like. But like I said, for me at this moment, I'm just like, it's not really a big deal. I prefer the real thing.
Right. I do agree with the surgeon though. Jocelyn Elders is her name. Make sure y'all look her up, Queens, because she basically made history, and a lot of people are for Bill Clinton and their Wuhan, but we have to also understand our history. Like this woman was trying to put something in place that not only, to educate us as women, but also probably as Black women when we're in high school or whenever we take sex education, because it's not all about abstinence, and it's not just throw me a condom and I know what to do with it. So I feel like her point of bringing that up was very important, and for her to get fired for it was not cool at all.
Well, you have to think too of the time that it happened. And another point too, I definitely agree with you, Monique, that it should be a topic of discussion. If you look at places over in Europe, sex ed, and to the extent when they are talking about masturbation, that is okay. And the teen pregnancy rate is far lower than what it is here, because at one point in time, I wouldn't necessarily say now, but at one point in time, it was so taboo that, kids are curious, or teenagers are curious, and they were doing it without having the knowledge of, all the possibilities, all the aspects. So I definitely think that should be a conversation to be had. And, at least the person knows of it. If you choose not to do it, it is what it is. But at least you know that it's an option and it's not deemed as a bad thing. Because that's another thing too, carries a stigma.
Right.
So that's definitely something that should be had. But I think, she's definitely a name that we should know. But also take into consideration the time that it happened. You also had the 3 strikes rule, and you had so many other things that we look back at now and it's like, what the F? Who made these decisions? So we have to also put that in perspective as well. So
right. But yes, thank you, Queens, for sharing your experience with masturbation, as it's International Masturbation Month. I will say that there's a specific day that masturbation happens. I don't know. You'll have to look that up too. I had it. Don't have it right now. But it's definitely this month. And so make sure y'all partake on the day. Like, at least. Okay?
Again, there's no day, but every day is your day.
Every day. For Kiki, it's every day.
No. It's not every day for me. No.
But yes, Queens, thank you for tuning in, and let them know where they can find you at.
Yes, you guys can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom, and check out the Queens Uncut social media page, and I'll post everything about the museum, and I'll post like the old looking vibrators and because I'm all about the history as well, so I'll give you guys a little history lesson as well. So check that out.
Yes, Queens, come and chat with us and talk to us and engage us. You can find me on Instagram at Miss Candy Marie.
And you can find me on everything at TK Trinidad. Don't come for me with your negative opinions, though. I don't want to hear it. Because to all of them. I already know. So don't come with that.
Don't send them my way.
Don't send them my way either, child.
Go. You have 3 other people to choose from.
No, I'm gonna be over here with no dick and no drama, and so I will be masturbating with my bobs. And
we love a bob.
Everywhere at It's Monique Loveless, and also make sure you catch up on the last episodes because they're just as good as this one. And also check us out next Wednesday. Next month actually is June, and it will be our last we're gonna wrap up our first season, which would be super dope. So make sure you check us out at Queens Uncut, and also now that we're on the Zoom, as you can see, come check us out at YouTube, Black Queens Uncut. Thank you, Queens, for tuning in. We love you guys.
Bye, Queens.
Bye.